Welcome everyone to After the Dragon Episode 8, following House of the Dragon Episode 8. If you have not watched House of the Dragon or Episode 8, then you do not want to watch this. Go watch that, then come back and share it out after you do. This is presented by Mayhem Media and JDEDESIGNz. That's with a Z at the end of it. Make sure you check out facebook.com/JDEDESIGNz and check out some of my work. It's all hand-colored posters, so make sure you check it out. Pick one out for yourself. I can mail them anywhere. Marcus Frederiksen plays us in and out of every episode. Make sure you give his music a like. ReverbNation.com/Marcus Frederiksen. We're going to talk about a couple of different things in this episode. And stay tuned to the very end in case you were unable to hear the King's final words. I know what the King's final words are. I'm going to go over them at the end of the episode, so stay tuned for that. We had another time jump in this episode, about 8 years or so. The next generation are now adults, ranging between 17 and 21. And, of course, the king is deteriorating rapidly at this point. The throne just chewing him up, as Mizpah and I have talked about through many episodes. And this one was the final one. I do believe that the king died at the end of the episode. And so that's where we'll go into the future is going to be the selection of the next person. Is that going to be Rhaenyra? We'll have to wait and see. But the king was really looking deteriorated there, and we saw his face, big hole in his face. The throne really chewed him up, marking his lack of character in some fashion. That's what the curse of the throne does. If you're not a good ruler in some way, if you have a serious character flaw, the throne will chew you up, give you cuts and scrapes. We didn't see it in the first Game of Thrones, but Joffrey in the books was cut multiple times from the throne. He was not chewed up to the extent that King Viserys is currently, but there were kings. Robert was also cut a number of times. They just didn't deteriorate the way Viserys did. But Viserys did sit on the throne for a long time. It was during peacetime. There was no war. And the throne just, continued to chew him up. And I believe that this was the final episode for King Viserys. Now, at the beginning of this episode, we saw that the Hightowers were basically ruling, with Otto Hightower sitting on the throne and, ruling in his stead, and the Queen having her say as well and taking care of the king. I do appreciate the way that Alicent has cared for Viserys. I think she does care about him, and I think she doesn't want him to suffer. Of course, at the end of the episode there, we saw a total miscommunication. King Viserys is clearly dying at the end of that episode. He's mumbling incoherently. Or was he? And Alicent took that to mean that those are his commands. He wants Aegon, his son, to rule instead of Rhaenyra. And now the Targaryen children, his other children, are very different from Rhaenyra's children. They're obviously much bigger. Them being Rhaenyra's children being from the Strong family, not actual Targaryens and Valerians. Size, they are a little younger, 3 to 4 years probably younger than Aemon and Aegon, but you can see there's a difference in nature between them, between the two Targaryens and Rhaenyra's two children. There's clearly differences in values and what they're about. They're very different people. And of course, Rhaenyra is having children of her own with Daemon, so we'll see how that plays out as well. So, Alicent getting the wrong information from the king, or unless that's what he did mean. He was talking about the prince. He did say the words, the prince that was promised, and that would not include his daughter. So you have to wonder where that's going to go. Pretty much know where that's going to go. It's going to, lead to a challenge of who should be taking the throne next. But he was babbling incoherently, I think. I think he was just babbling. I don't think that was a last plea or a last wish on his part. I think he's just playing it over in his head. He's worried about. He was very. We know from the beginning of this series that he was very concerned about the song of Ice and Fire that Aegon the Conqueror had, thus the representation of the dagger, and I think it was just him being concerned with it, wondering who, is my daughter or whoever's after her even, are they going to be able to be strong enough to defend this? I think that's what he was just babbling incoherently about, and he was clearly, obviously, in a lot of pain, and that you can just babble sometimes when you're in pain. You don't know what you're saying sometimes, so. I think it was just incoherent babble. I don't believe that was a last wish, but Alicent is certainly going to take that as a last wish. Moving to the very end of the episode now, the king's final words were at the very right after Alicent left. He was whispering, "No more." And then afterwards, when he reached his hand up, like he was reaching out to someone, and then it went to black, and then you heard him whisper again. What he whispered there was, "My love." So clearly that was him passing. It was his wife coming back to take him to the afterlife, or that's the representation of it. So I do believe that the king is gone, and we'll see what happens with the succession on the final 2 episodes. There's only 2 episodes left. I'm pretty sure 10 episodes, so 9 and 10 is all we have left. Since Mizpah wasn't able to join me, I'm not going to do the different families and their sigils and where their seat of power is or any of that in this episode. I'm going to wait for him to do that as long as he can join me next week. If he doesn't join me next week, then I will do the sigils, the families, and their seats of power. In case you need a little bit of help with that, and who's currently in those seats of power. At the end of the series, we'll likely speculate on where season 2 might go, and we'll probably talk a little bit about the series Snow that'll be coming up. And then after the series is over, after House of the Dragon is over, Mizpah and I are planning to do an episode, a full Game of Thrones episode. We'll connect the lineage from where we are in House of the Dragon to the people who are alive in Game of Thrones. Obviously, spoilers will be in that episode, so if you don't want to know some of that information, then you shouldn't watch that episode until more of Game of Thrones has come out and you're ready to watch it. But we will be doing the family lines and stuff after the series is over. We're going to do 1 episode, all of Game of Thrones, and start tying these 2 shows together a little bit for anybody who might be having problems with it. Short episode when it's just me by myself. I'm not going to just regurgitate the episode. I like to talk about very specific points, and we'll have more next week when Mizpah hopefully joins me, and The Breeze as well. We'll likely have her, or at least she'll be around. Please comment. Leave us a comment. Do you have a favorite character yet? Who do you think should succeed the throne to Viserys? Leave us some comments so that we can talk about it on next week's episode. Share out the episodes. Help us continue to grow the podcast, all our brands. And, of course, Marcus Frederiksen, ReverbNation.com/Marcus Frederiksen. He does the music. Go and check out his music. Share out your favorite song with him. I am your host, JD, and that's going to be the end.